The first time Arav saw Mira, she was standing in the rain, sketching the reflection of an old cathedral in a puddle. Her hair clung to her cheeks, her notebook half soaked, yet she smiled as if the rain itself whispered secrets to her pencil. Arav had been walking back from a client meeting, umbrella in hand, his mind preoccupied with blueprints and deadlines. But something in that image, the serenity amidst chaos, made him stop. He offered her the umbrella. She refused with a grin, saying, "You can't draw rain if you don't feel it." That was how it began, two souls drawn together not by grand gestures, but by a quiet sense of belonging. Arav was an architect, meticulous and disciplined, Mira, a painter who thrived in spontaneity. Where he saw structure, she saw emotion. Where he built walls, she painted skies. Days turned into weeks, and the city's rhythm began to pulse with their laughter. Arav's apartment slowly filled with Mira's canvases, splashes of color that clashed with his monochrome designs, but somehow made everything warmer. She would tease him for his obsession with symmetry, calling him Mr. Perfection, while he'd reply, "And you, MS Chaos, are the only thing that fits perfectly in my plans." They were young, ambitious, and unstoppable, or so they believed. It was during one of Arav's major presentations that Rishin Meta entered their lives. Charismatic, confident, and ruthless in the corporate world, Rishin was everything Arav wasn't. He was the kind of man who could charm a room before saying a word. Rishin had been searching for a fresh architect to collaborate with on an upcoming luxury resort project, a contract that could change anyone's career overnight. Arav's proposal caught his attention. After a short meeting filled with handshakes and promises, Rishin said, "You've got talent, Arav. The world just needs to see it." For Arav, that moment felt like destiny finally nodding in his favor. Mira celebrated that night by painting a mural on their living room wall, a burst of gold and indigo that she claimed represented dreams taking flight. Arav didn't understand art, but he understood her eyes when she looked at him. They spoke of pride, of love, of a future that seemed untouchable. Weeks passed, and the project took shape. Mira often visited the office, offering ideas for interior aesthetics. Rishin, ever the gentleman, appreciated her creativity and encouraged her to contribute. Arav didn't notice the lingering glances between them at first, the way Rishin's compliments grew a little too personal, or the way Mira's laughter sounded different when he was around. One evening, while Arav was buried in work, Mira stayed late at Rishin's office to finalize a presentation. Arav called her twice. She didn't answer. He brushed it off. She was passionate about helping. That was one of the things he loved most about her, her drive, her independence. Trust was never something he questioned. The night of the project launch arrived. The venue shimmered under golden lights, a reflection of every sleepless night and every drop of sacrifice Arav had poured into his dream. Journalists, investors, and designers gathered to celebrate. Rishin stood beside Arav on stage, their smiles broad and triumphant. When the applause died down, Arav turned toward the crowd and called Mira forward. "Mira," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "You've been the light behind every shadow in my life. You believed in me when no one else did. So tonight, I want to build something not out of stone or steel, but out of love." He knelt before her, holding a small velvet box. The room gasped softly as he opened it. A simple diamond ring gleamed under the lights. Mira froze for a heartbeat. Her eyes shimmered with tears, and she whispered, "Arav," before nodding. The crowd erupted into applause as he slipped the ring onto her finger. For a moment, everything felt perfect. But from the corner of his eye, Arav noticed Rishin, watching them, his expression unreadable, a faint smirk tugging at the edge of his lips. When Mira turned to embrace Arav, her gaze flickered toward Rishin. A silent glance passed between them, brief but charged, like a shadow that slipped unnoticed beneath the door of their happiness. Arav didn't see it fully. He was too busy whispering into her ear, "We'll build our world together." But if he had, he might have recognized that in that fleeting moment, the foundation of his trust had already begun to crack. That night, under the golden haze of champagne and celebration, the three of them toasted to partnerships, dreams, and endless possibilities. Mira's laughter rang through the air, sweet and melodic, while Rishan's eyes lingered on her a moment too long. Arav, blinded by love, saw only friendship, and as the city lights glittered outside the grand hall, fate smiled, a cold, knowing smile, for it had already chosen the path ahead. The spark had been lit, but every spark, sooner or later, finds something to burn. It began with silence. Not the comfortable kind, the silence that once sat between Arav and Mira, filled with warmth and understanding, but a heavy, suffocating kind. The kind that lingered in the air like unspoken truths. After the engagement, things should have been brighter. Arav's project was a success, and their names appeared in business journals and art magazines alike. Yet somehow the very dream they had built together began to feel fragile. At first it was little things. Mira started coming home late, claiming she was finishing designs for Rishan's clients. Arav didn't question it. He trusted her more than he trusted himself, but soon the small delays became absences, missed dinners, unanswered calls, quiet arguments that ended in half-hearted apologies. When she smiled now, it didn't reach her eyes, and when she said, "I love you," it felt like a memory of something that used to be true. Rishan was everywhere. His name crept into every conversation, every project, every decision. "He's just been so helpful," Mira would say, brushing off Arav's unease. "He believes in my art, Arav. He's introducing me to gallery owners. You should be happy for me." And Arav was. Or at least he tried to be. He didn't see it as competition. Rishan was his friend, his partner in success. They had toasted together, built together. Arav couldn't imagine betrayal from someone he had once called a brother. But something inside him, some quiet corner of his soul, began to ache. One evening, Arav returned early from a client meeting. Mira wasn't home yet. He poured himself a cup of coffee and wandered into her studio, a space she guarded almost religiously. There were sketches scattered across the floor, blueprints, his designs for the next phase of the resort project. But something was off. The plans bore the watermark of Rishan's company. Arav froze. His name had been erased. His chest tightened as if someone had driven a blade between his ribs. The betrayal wasn't complete yet, but it had begun to take shape. Lines of deception drawn over the architecture of his trust. When Mira came home later, her hair smelled faintly of Rishan's cologne. Arav asked nothing. He simply looked at her, and she looked back with guilt hidden behind tired eyes. They ate dinner in silence. That night she lay beside him, staring at the ceiling. He pretended to sleep, his heart racing, his mind refusing to accept what it already knew. Weeks passed. Arav's meetings were mysteriously cancelled. Investors withdrew without explanation. Rumors spread through the industry that he had plagiarized designs from Rishan's company. He went to confront Rishan one morning, only to find the man's secretary avoiding his gaze. Rishan greeted him warmly, too warmly. "Brother," he said, clasping Arav's shoulder, "these rumors, I'm so sorry you're caught in this mess. But you know how it is. Business is brutal." "Rishan," Arav said quietly, his voice trembling with disbelief, "those designs were mine. You know that." Rishan sighed, leaning back in his chair, eyes glinting with something dark. "Prove it." For a long moment neither spoke. Arav realized then that the man he had once trusted had already decided the outcome of this game. When Arav left the office, he didn't notice Mira entering through the side door minutes later. Rishan stood up to greet her with a smile, one that no longer pretended to hide its meaning. A week later, the media storm hit. Headlines screamed, ****, architect Arav Khanna accused of design theft. ***, Businessman Rishin Mehta claims original rights to luxury project. Arev's company collapsed within days. Contracts were cancelled, investors fled, and clients stopped returning his calls. His world, built brick by brick through years of struggle, crumbled overnight. He went home, hoping to find comfort in Mira's embrace, but instead found her packing a suitcase. She didn't meet his eyes. "Arev," she whispered, "I can't do this anymore. It's too much. Everyone's talking. I need space. Space." His voice cracked. "When I needed you, when they turned on me, you needed space." Her silence was his answer. When she finally looked up, her engagement ring was gone. "I'm sorry," she said, but her tone carried no weight, no truth. "Maybe this is for the best." And just like that, she walked out, leaving the door open behind her, the way one leaves a room they never intend to return to. That night it rained again. The same kind of rain that had once brought them together now washed away what little remained of their bond. Arev stood outside his former office, the glass walls reflecting a stranger's face back at him. He watched as Mira and Rishin exited the building together, their silhouettes merging beneath a shared umbrella. He could have shouted. He could have begged. But instead he stood there, numb, watching his entire life walk away with his best friend. The rain poured harder. No one looked back. In that moment, something inside Arev broke, not loudly but quietly, like a whisper dying in the wind. The man who had built dreams for others realized he had no foundation left for himself. And though he didn't yet know it, in that ruin of heartbreak, a new structure was forming, one not of love or trust, but of vengeance. Arev vanished. Not in the physical sense. His body still walked the same streets, breathed the same polluted city air, but the man he used to be, the one who believed in love and friendship, no longer existed. The months after Mira's betrayal blurred into a haze of emptiness. His home, once bright with her paintings and laughter, turned into a hollow museum of memories. The walls echoed with silence, the air thick with ghosts of promises. The newspapers eventually moved on from his scandal. The world forgot him, but he never forgot. He spent days in the city library, reading about corporate law, architecture copyrights, and digital forensics, anything that might someday explain how Rishin had stolen everything from him. His once steady hands trembled when he drew now. Each line felt like a scar he couldn't erase. His savings dwindled. He took small design jobs under a fake name, blueprints for small cafes, private villas, anything that paid enough to survive. The clients never knew they were hiring the man who once designed award-winning projects. At night, he wandered aimlessly. Sometimes he passed Mira's old art gallery, the one Rishin had funded after she left him. Her face smiled from the posters, beautiful and unreachable, her eyes hollow in the printed paper. He would stand across the street, unseen as she emerged from her new world, dressed in luxury but looking strangely tired. He could almost feel her emptiness, but it didn't matter. He had no strength left for empathy. One evening, sitting by the riverside with a half-empty cup of tea, Arev met Anya Kapoor. She was a journalist, sharp eyes, steady voice, carrying a sense of purpose he had lost long ago. She recognized him instantly. "You're Arev Khanna," she said softly, "the architect who disappeared. He looked away. He's dead." She smiled faintly. "Then who am I talking to?" For the first time in months, someone looked at him without judgment, only curiosity. She told him she had been investigating Rishin Mehta's company for money laundering and fraud. When she mentioned Mira's name, Arev's jaw tightened. "I don't want to talk about her," he muttered. "You don't have to," Anya said, "but you should talk about what they did to you." He said nothing, but something inside him stirred, a flicker of life buried under grief. Over the next weeks, Anya met him often, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for silence. She brought files, evidence, whispers from Rishin's former employees. Each document was a puzzle piece of corruption. Arav studied them, his old analytical mind returning, sharper now, colder. The more he learned, the clearer the picture became. Rishin's empire was built on deceit, not just his, but dozens of others' stolen work. "Help me expose him," Anya urged one night, her voice firm. "You know his mind, his patterns, his weaknesses." Arav stared at the city skyline beyond the window, the skyscrapers he once dreamed of designing. "No," he said quietly. "Not yet. Then what do you want?" He turned to her, eyes dark, unreadable. "I want him to lose everything the way I did. But first, I want him to feel safe. From that night, Arav began to rebuild, not the man, but the mask. He changed his appearance, his style, even his name. Under the alias Arhon Dev he joined a rival architectural firm abroad, one known for discretion. His designs once again caught attention, but this time he stayed in the shadows, letting others take public credit. What mattered was access to the corporate world that had once destroyed him. Through Anya's contacts, he traced Rishin's expanding business network, the shell companies, offshore accounts, and bribes that propped up his empire. Piece by piece, Arav collected every thread. Mira's name appeared often, her gallery funded through Rishin's money. Every success she enjoyed was stained with his designs, his stolen work. Yet, strangely, he no longer felt rage when he saw her image. Only distance. She had been the wound. Rishin was the infection. And infections required precision to cure. 2 years passed. Arav, now Arhon, returned to the city. No one recognized him. He had traded his simple clothes for tailored suits, his timid tone for quiet authority. His voice carried the weight of calm vengeance. He bought a small design firm under an investor's name, a company that would soon merge with Rishin's own. The irony wasn't lost on him. When he walked into Rishin Mehta's office again, this time as a potential collaborator, Rishin shook his hand without hesitation. "Mr. Dev," Rishin greeted, "I've heard a lot about you." "Likewise," Arav replied with a polite smile. "It's an honor." And as their hands met, Arav felt a strange satisfaction. His world had burned to ashes, but from those ashes he had risen colder, sharper, untouchable. He could still hear Mira's laughter in his memory, soft and distant. But now it no longer haunted him. It fueled him. The final act had begun quietly, elegantly, inevitably. And this time Arav wasn't building dreams. He was designing the perfect collapse. 2 years after the night everything burned, the city looked different to Arav, or perhaps he was the one who had changed. The skyline glittered with the same arrogance, the same towers of glass and steel, but now every light seemed like a confession waiting to be heard. Arav, now known to the world as Arhon Dev sat in his office overlooking those lights. His reflection in the window was calm, composed, the faintest ghost of a smile resting on his lips. He had waited for this day with the patience of an artist, sketching the final line of his masterpiece. The plan was already in motion, every move calculated, every consequence foreseen. Rishin's company, Mehta Enterprises was at its peak. His projects dominated headlines. His fortune had doubled, and beside him at every public appearance was Mira, now his creative partner, though the media speculated far more. They had everything they stole from Arav, everything except peace. Behind the scenes, Arav and Anya worked quietly, meticulously. Years of evidence had been collected: falsified invoices, shell corporations, stolen design files, bribery records. Each piece of data was a silent weapon, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Arav didn't want to destroy them in haste. He wanted the collapse to be beautiful a fall so poetic that they would see him in every ruin. The first blow was subtle. An anonymous whistleblower leaked documents to the media. financial irregularities linking Rishin to overseas accounts. Rishin brushed it off at first, smiling through press conferences, calling it fake news spread by jealous competitors. But the second blow came harder. Anya published an exposé under her real name, backed by undeniable evidence. Investors began to panic. Stock prices plummeted, government agencies launched investigations. Rishin's perfect image began to crack just like Arev's once had. And through that fracture the darkness seeped in. Mira felt at first the change in Rishin's tone, his temper. The man who once adored her now snapped at every question, every hesitation. Late nights filled with arguments and slammed doors. Her gallery funding was cut without explanation. She watched her exhibitions vanish, her reputation questioned by critics who now called her a beneficiary of corruption. One evening, she visited Rishin's office and found him pacing furiously, phone pressed to his ear. "Find out who did this," he shouted. "I don't care what it costs." Mira hesitated at the doorway. "Rishin, maybe we should tell the truth. End it before." He turned on her with eyes like ice. "Their asterisk is asterisk no truth, Mira. Without me, you're nothing. Don't forget where you came from." The words hit her like a slap. For the first time, she saw the man behind the mask, the greed, the cruelty. And suddenly, she remembered Arev's eyes the night she left him, filled not with anger, but disbelief. The past returned like a ghost she could no longer ignore. Days later, the final act unfolded. Rishin hosted a charity gala, an event meant to prove he was still in control. The city's elite gathered under chandeliers and champagne laughter, oblivious to the storm outside. And among them, dressed in a black tailored suit, stood Arev. Rishin didn't recognize him at first. The beard, the colder eyes, the quiet authority. But when Arev extended his hand, Rishin froze for half a second. "Mr. Mehta," Arev said smoothly. "Arhandev, we spoke months ago. I believe you'll find tonight's presentation enlightening." Rishin nodded stiffly, too distracted to process the undercurrent of irony. Mira, standing beside him, turned, and in that moment her heart stopped. She knew those eyes, she tried to speak, but no words came. The crowd's applause drowned everything as the lights dimmed for the evening's main announcement. On the massive screen behind them, a promotional video began to play, but instead of the expected corporate presentation, images and documents flashed across the screen, forged signatures, financial transfers, architectural blueprints signed by Arev Kana. Gasps filled the hall, whispers spread like wildfire. Rishin's face drained of color as the evidence scrolled on, line after line, proof after proof. And then, in the final frame, appeared a quote in white letters on black. ****. Every structure built on betrayal eventually collapses. A. K. ****. The lights flickered back on. Rishin turned, but Arev was gone. Only the faint scent of cologne and the echo of retribution remained. By dawn, the city was alive with scandal. Rishin was arrested within days, his empire dismantled, his name dragged through every headline. His charm had abandoned him, his allies turned to ash. Mira's gallery was sealed for investigation. She lost her sponsors, her status, her friends. The glamour faded, leaving only guilt behind. One afternoon, she found a letter slipped under her apartment door. No return address. Only her name written in familiar handwriting. ***Mira, you once told me that to paint rain, you must feel it. I suppose to understand betrayal, I had to feel it too. I don't hate you anymore. Hate is a kind of love, and I've let that go. You chose your path. I built mine. We are both, in our own ways, artists of our own destruction. I hope you find peace someday. I already have. Arev. She read the letter a dozen times, tears falling onto the ink. Outside, the rain began to fall again, soft, relentless, familiar. For the first time, Mira didn't try to sketch it. She just let it wash over her, as if it could cleanse what she had become. Arav stood miles away, watching the sunrise from a quiet hilltop overlooking the city. The storm had passed. The skyline glowed gold, like forgiveness rising after a long night. Anya joined him, handing him a coffee. "It's done," she said simply. He nodded. "No, it's asterisk ended." "Asterisk, there's a difference." She smiled. "What will you do now?" He looked at the horizon, a faint smile touching his lips. "Build again, but this time I'll build something that doesn't need revenge to stand." They stood in silence as morning light spilled over the city, a city that had once broken him, now kneeling quietly beneath his rebirth. The man named Arav Khanna had died once, but from his ashes a new soul had risen, forged in betrayal, tempered in pain, and freed through forgiveness. The symphony of revenge had played its final note, and in the quiet that followed, peace finally answered.